Hey, Jim. So Jim offered a thorough description of the recurring buying task and the customer journey and examples of services that are found within each of these tasks. Next, we built on this customer journey by examining two superordinate stages of the process, and that is order qualifying or disqualifying from consideration a pool of suppliers, and then this order winners, selecting the supplier that will actually win. So this qualification stage and this winning stage. And what we found is we surveyed purchasing professionals across the United States, and we asked about 17 different types of analyses that they may conduct at each of these 2 points in the process, qualifying or winning or both. And some of these analyses were about the supplier, and some of these analyses were about the product or the service. And there are 2 key points that I'd like to draw your attention to from this research. And that's first, what qualifies a supplier is not necessarily the same as what results in a supplier winning. And that's, in this case, the order qualifiers, what we found is that buyers find assessing the financial and legal risk, and Jim alluded to this analysis earlier, that assessing the financial and legal risk of a supplier is critical in the qualification process, in which a buyer is reducing down a substantial pool of suppliers down to a small few that they may actually consider. And then second, in the order winners, what we found is a portfolio of analysis on reliability and quality and price and TCO become very important. When we think about this research, probably the most important thing for the marketers and sales management folks to consider is what are they using to offer financial and legal risk assessment for their buyers across the board. Well, what's next from what we're doing? Jim and I are working as part of a body of this research beyond the U.S. borders, and have decided to examine some cross-national differences and similarities in business-to-business customer decision-making. Jim and I are working with 3 colleagues in 3 different countries. We're working with Professor Luji Chen of China Europe International Business School, a worldwide leader in business education, and Professor Damien McLaughlin at the University College Dublin, Europe's leading research-intensive university, and Professor D.V.R. Seshadri at the Indian School of Business, which was co-founded by 2 McKinsey senior executives in the late 90s. I'd like to give you a flavor of some of our early findings as they relate to these digital tools. So we conducted cross-national surveys in China, Ireland, India, and the United States, and we found in our preliminary results a few key points that we'd like to share with you before we close up today. The first is that we have found that Chinese purchasing professionals use a much wider variety of digital tools more frequently. And our interviews suggest that this may be the case both because of a younger business-to-business customer that's simply open to a larger set of digital tools, and perhaps because of far more intense competitive pressures across a large collection of companies in this country. A second preliminary finding that we have found is that Ireland ranks second among these 4 countries in terms of the variety and frequency of tool usage. This may be because Ireland is home to many high-tech international companies. Third, we found that the United States purchasing professionals tend to use a narrow and more selective group of tools less frequently. And this may reflect a more mature, established procurement process here domestically in the United States. Fourth, we find that vendor scorecards, online trade association sites, online groups, and review sites are hot and certainly on the rise in all 4 of the countries. And the challenge for suppliers and sales management in general is that they're going to have to learn how to both legally and ethically influence these tools such that business-to-business customers have access to useful information about the company's product and services. Last preliminary result that we'll share with you from this international work is the fact that millennials are much more likely to use text, social media, online groups, and review sites, and vendor management. Now, the big piece of this is that millennials have greater familiarity and usage of these tools in their personal life, And this is going to create demand and expectation for millennials to use these tools professionally. So companies, both customers and suppliers alike, will have to become far more proficient than currently in the provision and standardization and usefulness of these tools. So Jim will offer a few final thoughts before we close for our afternoon.
Okay, as I said at the beginning, Michelle and I have undertaken quite a bit of research, and we've got a lot of findings. Unfortunately, we weren't able to discuss it fully during this webinar, but fortunately you can find more at our research website, which is called engagementb2b.com. If you go to that site online, what you'll find not only are our research findings, but also podcasts, radio interviews, blogs, and articles that we have written in the past about this topic. More importantly, we have contact information, and we would welcome an opportunity to speak with you or communicate online or via social media about your experiences in either buying or selling in B2B markets. So once again, on behalf of Michelle and myself, I would like to thank you for taking the time to listen to our webinar.
Thank you.